The story of the Beale Ciphers is one of those classic American tales. It has everything. A mysterious stranger, a secret mission, a locked iron box, and a promise. The promise of a massive treasure buried somewhere in the hills of Virginia. It's a story that has captivated people for well over a century. It's pulled in professional codebreakers, amateur sleuths, and hopeful treasure hunters with shovels and maps. They all want to know the same thing. What do the Beale Ciphers reveal? And is any of it real? To understand the ciphers, you first have to understand the story, and it's one heck of a story. It all starts back in the 1820s in Lynchburg, Virginia. A man named Robert Morris ran a local inn, the Washington Hotel. In January of 1820, a guest checked in. He was tall, dark, and charismatic. He kept to himself, but was polite. He told Morris his name was Thomas Jefferson Beale. He stayed for the winter and left in the spring, promising to return. He did, the following year. And the year after that. He and Morris became friends. During his third visit in 1822, Beale did something strange. He entrusted Morris with a small but heavy iron box. He told Morris it contained papers of extreme importance, papers that could affect the lives and fortunes of many people. He locked the box and gave the key to Morris. Then he laid out a set of instructions. Morris was to keep the box safe for 10 years. If after 10 years Beale had not returned to claim it, then there was a problem. Though Beale explained that a friend of his in St. Louis held a key to the ciphers inside the box. He would mail that key to Morris at some point. So the instructions were if 10 years passed and Beale was gone, and the key had arrived, Morris should open the box. He should then use the key to decipher the papers. The papers would tell him what to do. If, however, 10 years passed and the key never arrived, Morris was instructed to destroy the box and its contents without ever looking inside. And Morris agreed. He was a man of his word. Beale left the inn and was never seen again. Years went by. Morris waited. He heard nothing from Beale. No letters, no messages. The 10 years came and went. Still nothing. The promised key from St. Louis never arrived. For Morris was a patient man. He waited another decade, and then another. Finally, in 1845, more than 20 years after Beale left, Morris decided he had to know. He was an old man by then. He broke the lock on the iron box. Inside, he found no treasure. He found only papers. 3 sheets were covered in numbers, thousands of them arranged in neat rows. It was clearly a code. There was also a letter, written in plain English, from Thomas J. Beale. The letter told an incredible story. Beale wrote that he had led a party of 30 men on a buffalo hunt out west in the territory of New Mexico around 1817. While there, they stumbled upon a discovery that would change their lives. They found a mine overflowing with gold and silver. For over a year they worked the mine, amassing a fortune beyond their wildest dreams. But they had a problem. They couldn't spend it or store it safely out in the lawless west. They decided to transport it back east and bury it in a secure location. They made several trips, hauling the gold and silver across the country. They chose a secret spot in Bedford County, Virginia, not far from Lynchburg. They dug a stone-lined vault 6 feet underground and filled it with their treasure. Beale knew that if something happened to all of them, the fortune would be lost forever. Their families would get nothing, so he devised a plan. He created 3 ciphers. The first cipher, he explained, described the exact location of the vault. The second cipher described the contents of the vault, and the third cipher listed the names and residences of the 30 men in his party. It was a list of their next of kin, the rightful heirs to the treasure. Beale's plan was simple. By separating the information, he made it secure. Someone would need to solve all 3 ciphers to get the location, the inventory, and the list of heirs. He wrote that he was leaving the papers with Morris because he trusted him. He had left the key to the ciphers with a reliable friend in St. Louis, who was supposed to mail it to Morris in 1832. Clearly, that never happened. Beale's letter ends with him wishing Morris good luck, trusting him to carry out his duty if he could ever decipher the messages. Morris was stumped. He spent the next 20 years of his life staring at those numbers. He tried everything he could think of to crack the code. He tried matching numbers to letters of the alphabet. He tried mathematical patterns. Nothing worked. The numbers remained a meaningless jumble. He was an innkeeper, not a cryptographer. As he neared the end of his life, he knew he had failed. He didn't want the secret to die with him, so he passed the box, the papers, and the story on to a younger friend. This friend is the reason we know about the Beale Ciphers today. His name was James B. Ward. And Ward took the papers, and like Morris before him, became obsessed. He dedicated years to solving the puzzle. But Unlike Morris, he had a breakthrough, a huge one. He solved one of the ciphers. He figured out that the codes were a specific type known as a book cipher. A book cipher is a clever way to write a secret message. You take a text, any text, like a book or a famous document. Then, for each letter you want to write, you find a word in the text that starts with that letter. You then write down the number of that word. For example, if your key text is, "The quick brown fox jumps," and you want to write the letter, you would find the word brown, which is the third word. There are millions of possibilities. Ward must have tried dozens, maybe hundreds of texts. The Bible, Shakespeare. Finally, he found it. The key to the second cipher was the United States Declaration of Independence. He took the second page of numbers and started applying the key. For the first number, 115, he counted to the 115th word in the Declaration of Independence, where that word is instituted. He took the first letter, E. For the next number, 73, he found the 73rd word, for. He took the first letter, he kept going, number by number, word by word, letter by letter. Slowly, painstakingly, a message began to emerge. When he was done, Ward had the full text of the second cipher. And it was exactly what Beale's letter had promised. It was a description of the treasure. The decoded message read, "In part, I have deposited in the county of Bedford, about 4 miles from Beaufort's, in an excavation or vault, 6 feet below the surface of the ground, the following articles. The first deposit consisted of 1,014 pounds of gold and 3,812 pounds of silver, deposited in November 1819. The second was made in December 1821, and consisted of 1,907 pounds of gold and 1,288 of silver, also jewels, obtained in St. Louis in exchange for silver to save transportation. These are stored in iron pots with iron covers." The message was stunning. It wasn't just gold and silver, it was a specific mind-boggling amount. Thousands of pounds of precious metals, plus jewels. The total value today would be in the tens of millions of dollars. The success of decoding this one message changed everything. It proved the system worked. It lent an air of powerful authenticity to the entire story. If one cipher was real, the others must be too. And the most important one, the one with the location, was still locked. Ward was energized. He tried the Declaration of Independence on the other 2 ciphers, the first and the third. Nothing. It didn't work. He tried other documents he thought Beale might have used. The Constitution, the Bill of Rights, various legal texts. He found nothing. He believed that Beale must have used different key texts for each cipher, maybe a specific edition of a certain book, a book Ward didn't have and couldn't find. After years of failure, Ward decided to go public. In 1885, he published a pamphlet titled The Beale Papers. In it, he told the whole story from Beale's arrival at Morris's Inn to his own partial success in cracking the code. He printed the original letters, the full text of all 3 ciphers, and the decoded message of the second one. He sold the pamphlet for 50 cents. His stated reason was to see if the public mind could solve what he could not. He hoped someone, somewhere, would see the numbers and recognize the pattern or guess the key. And that's where the story leaves the hands of its original characters and enters the public imagination. The pamphlet spread. People became fascinated. The hunt was on. So, what do the ciphers reveal? On the surface, the answer is simple. The second cipher reveals a list of an immense treasure. It gives us a tantalizing glimpse of what's supposedly buried in Bedford County. But the other 2 ciphers reveal nothing. They have remained stubbornly silent for over 130 years. Cipher number 1 is the Holy Grail. It's the map. It supposedly contains the detailed directions to the treasure vault. Whoever cracks it gets the gold. Cipher number 3 is the conscience of the operation. It's the list of heirs, the people who are owed this fortune. Without it, even if someone found the treasure, they wouldn't know whose it rightfully was. The fact that these 2 remain unsolved is the enduring mystery, and it's what separates the believers from the skeptics. The believers look at the evidence and see a genuine puzzle. They point to the second cipher. It's not a simple code. It's mathematically sound. It works perfectly with the Declaration of Independence as a key. Some numbers in the cipher are off by 1 or 2 words, but this is explained away as human error on Beale's part. Creating such a long and detailed cipher is a lot of work. Why would someone do that just for a hoax? Furthermore, cryptographers have analyzed the unsolved ciphers. They've run statistical tests on the numbers. And what they've found is that the numbers in ciphers 1 and 3 are not random. They have patterns consistent with an encrypted English text. The frequency of certain numbers corresponds to the frequency of letters in the English language. This suggests that there really is a message hidden in there. It's not just gibberish. This has kept professional and amateur codebreakers busy for decades. They've used computers to test millions of possible key texts. The Bible in every conceivable translation and edition. Every work of Shakespeare. The Magna Carta. Obscure legal documents. Nothing has worked. The search for the treasure itself has become a legend in Bedford County. Over the years, people have shown up with shovels, maps, and theories. They've dug holes all over the countryside, often illegally. Landowners have had to chase people off their property. Some treasure hunters have spent their life savings on the quest. There are stories of people using dynamite, bulldozers, and psychics. One group in the 1980s got legal permission to excavate a specific site and spent a fortune, only to find nothing. The hunt has become a local industry of its own, a mix of tourism and folklore. But then there are the skeptics, and their arguments are powerful. The biggest problem with the whole story is the man at the center of it, Thomas Jefferson Beale. He doesn't seem to exist. Historians and researchers have scoured records for any trace of him. They've checked census records, military rolls, land deeds, and tax documents from the 1820s. There is no record of any Thomas J. Beale in Virginia or anywhere else that fits the description. The same goes for his 30 companions. Not one of them has ever been identified. For a group of men who supposedly discovered one of the largest fortunes in American history, they left no tracks at all. This leads skeptics to a simple conclusion. Beale was an invention. He's a character in a fictional story. And if Beale is fictional, who wrote the story? All signs point to one man, James B. Ward, the one who published the pamphlet. Let's look at the evidence against Ward. First, the motive. Money. He sold the pamphlet for 50 cents a copy. In 1885, that wasn't a trivial amount. He could have made a decent sum from a popular sensational story. A tale of hidden treasure is a guaranteed seller. Second, the language. Researchers have analyzed the writing style of Beale's letters and compared it to Ward's own writing in the pamphlet. The styles are very similar. More damning, linguists have pointed out several words used in Beale's letters that were not in common use in the 1820s. Words like stampede and cavity, in the context they are used, are anachronisms. They fit much better with the language of the 1880s, when Ward was writing. It's like finding the word computer in a letter supposedly from the Civil War. It's a dead giveaway that something is wrong. Third, the source of the idea. Ward was not necessarily an original storyteller. In 1843, Edgar Allan Poe published a very famous short story called The Gold Bug. The Poe story is about a man who finds a secret message written in cipher. He cracks the code, which leads him to a massive buried treasure left by the pirate Captain Kidd. The cipher in Poe's story is a substitution cipher, but the themes are identical: a secret code, a hidden treasure, and a clever protagonist who solves the puzzle. The parallels between The Gold Bug and the Beale Papers are hard to ignore. Many believe Ward simply read Poe's story and decided to create his own more elaborate version, grounding it in local Virginia lore to make it feel more real. The way Ward cracked the second cipher is also suspicious. He claimed to have tried countless texts before stumbling upon the Declaration of Independence. But what if he worked backwards? What if he wrote the treasure inventory first, then used the Declaration of Independence to encode it into the second cipher? It would be a tedious process, but entirely possible. It would create a perfect solvable cipher that would act as the proof for his story. The bait. Then, he could have just created two other ciphers filled with random, meaningless numbers. Ciphers 1 and 3. They look like codes. They have some statistical properties of codes, but they are designed to be unsolvable. They are the hook that keeps the mystery alive forever. If all the ciphers were solvable, the story would end. By leaving two of them a mystery, Ward ensured his legend would endure. And finally, there's the issue of the original papers. Where are they? According to Ward, he gave all the original documents from the iron box to a friend who took them away, and they were subsequently lost, possibly in a fire. This is incredibly convenient. It means the only evidence that ever existed for this entire story comes from Ward's own pamphlet. There is no iron box, there are no original coded sheets, there is no handwritten letter from a man named Beale. There is only Ward's printed account. So what does this all mean? What do the Beale ciphers reveal? The most likely, most logical answer is that they reveal a clever hoax. They reveal the storytelling ability of a man named James B. Ward in the late 19th century. He was likely inspired by Edgar Allan Poe and motivated by a desire for a little fame and fortune. He crafted a compelling American myth, full of adventure and mystery. He created one genuinely brilliant cipher to make his story believable, and two unsolvable ones to make it last. In that sense, the Beale ciphers reveal more about human psychology than they do about buried treasure. They reveal our love for a good story, our fascination with puzzles, and our deep-seated hope that a life-changing fortune is just waiting to be discovered. The second cipher reveals a detailed inventory of gold, silver, and jewels. But it's almost certainly a fictional inventory. Its purpose was never to be a true list of assets. Its purpose was to be the spark that lit the fire of a legend, and it worked beautifully. The first and third ciphers reveal the real genius of the hoax, if that's what it is. By being unsolvable, they create endless speculation. They are a blank canvas onto which people can project their hopes. Are they based on some obscure text no one has found? Is there a second, more complex layer to the code? Is there a mistake in the pamphlet's transcription of the numbers? These questions keep the mystery alive. They ensure that the Beale ciphers will never be definitively debunked. You can't prove a code is unsolvable. You can only prove it's solvable by solving it. As long as they remain unbroken, there is always that sliver of doubt, that tiny chance. That chance is what has fueled a century of obsession. It's what keeps people digging, both in the ground in Virginia and in the archives of old books. The story's just too good to let go. A mysterious frontiersman, a hidden fortune, a code that has stumped the greatest mind. Well, it's a modern-day quest for the Holy Grail. In the end, the Beale ciphers may not reveal the location of a hidden American treasure. The real treasure is the story itself. It's a masterpiece of folklore. It has survived and grown for over 100 years, passed down from one generation of dreamers to the next. The numbers on those pages may not lead to gold, but they have led to countless hours of intellectual challenge, debate, and adventure. They reveal our own desire to believe in something amazing, to solve the unsolvable, and to think that maybe, just maybe, there's a secret waiting just beneath the surface. And that, in its own way, is a kind of treasure. It's a mystery that will likely never be solved, and perhaps it's better that way. The moment the ciphers are cracked, the magic disappears. As long as they remain a puzzle, the hunt and the hope can go on forever.